Welcome to 2CTV, your global news channel. We come to you guys with some major breaking news from the Middle East. The Israeli government have now announced that they are going to be moving towards fully occupying the Gaza Strip and annexing the whole thing. The head of the IDF might be resigning in a protest to this policy decision. Everything's happening very fast, and over the last few minutes, just before we went live, the Houthis from Yemen have started to attack Israel. Missiles have been launched. We have some updates on that as well. We're going to bring you guys everything that we know so far. And also, we do have the live feed from the Israeli-Gazan border. Over the last few minutes, we have heard some explosions. We're going to obviously keep an eye on this live feed as well, in case something happens. First things first, let's talk about what's actually happening and the decision from the Israeli government and the Prime Minister's office directly. The full conquest of Gaza and elimination of every single Hamas member who will remain, who chooses to remain, instead of actually evacuating. And also the position from the Prime Minister's office is, if the head of the IDF, Eyal Zamir, has a problem with that, he can resign. Now, all eyes are now on the war cabinet meeting that will be happening with the Prime Minister and everybody else to see what the plan is going to be exactly, and whether Eyal Zamir will be resigning or whether he will continue. He's only been in the job for a couple of months, few months now. It hasn't been that long, few months. But things are escalating fast. Netanyahu himself said, "We must fight together to achieve all our war objectives: the defeat of the enemy, the release of our hostages, and the assurance that Gaza will no longer pose a threat to Israel." Now, as I said, following this, there are a lot of speculations about the future of the IDF chief, Eyal Zamir. He has actually now cancelled his upcoming planned trip to the United States, so he could actually stay and he could find out exactly what's going on with the war cabinet meeting that will be happening in a few hours, and whether he will decide to stay in the job or whether he will resign. I mean, you could understand the fear for a political backlash, and of course, you know, if a number of Israeli soldiers die in this full-on operation under his leadership, obviously he's going to have to bear a lot of responsibility, so he probably doesn't want that, and there's a lot of political backlash. But if you are a war general, it's your job to carry out the operation, the military operation. But of course, that's Eyal Zamir, and whatever he wants to do, he will decide over the next few hours. We do also have confirmation from the White House that the President Trump and the United States have given Israel the green light for this major military action in Gaza, with possible plans to annex or indefinitely occupy the Gaza Strip. Of course, President Trump already a few months ago made his announcement that the only solution will be a full occupation of Gaza, and to basically either eliminate the Islamists who are still there, or make a deal with them and send them into exile, which means probably somewhere like Egypt or Qatar or wherever they want to go. Meanwhile, President Trump was just asked by reporters whether he believes that genocide is happening in Gaza. Of course, the mainstream media journalists in the United States are very, very much on top of very, very important things. Yeah, asking the President of the United States, do you accept there is a genocide? Idiots. This is what President Trump said.
They see evidence of a genocide in Gaza?
I don't think it's that. Look, they're in a war. Some horrible things happened on October 7th, as you know. It was a horrible, horrible thing. One of the worst I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of bad things since some president in terms of wars and potential wars. I mean, if you look at the one that we just stopped, there are thousands of people being dead already at the border. between Thailand and Cambodia. Thousands of people. And I mean, I've seen some bad things, but that October 7th was with Hamas was really, really bad.
Yes. So, in short, President Trump does not believe there's genocide because there's no genocide. This is war. It's called war. Anyway, while that's going on, there is a short reaction from Hamas in Gaza as well. They have not gone to bed. They were ready to give us some reaction. Hamas have said that Israeli threats are repetitive and have no value or influence on our decisions. Considering that since October the 7th, 2023, everything that Hamas in Gaza have been doing has been reactionary. I'm not really sure what they mean by, well, whatever the enemy does doesn't actually influence our decisions. Literally everything that Israel does influence your decisions because you are on your back foot. You're on the back foot, you are being reactionary. There's no proactive move coming from Gaza. Everything is about, if the Israelis do this, we have to do this. If the narrative from the international community and the media is, oh, there's a humanitarian aid crisis in Gaza, which in reality means Hamas is stealing the aid, what we should do is we should starve the hostages. These are reactionary moves. They are doing it on purpose. But apparently, whatever Israel does doesn't actually influence decisions coming from Hamas's leadership. Also, where is the leadership? They don't even know who's giving the actual orders anymore. Now, speaking of groups that don't have any leadership at this point, because their leaders are not even in where they're supposed to be, Hezbollah are also kicking off in the middle of all this. Because tomorrow is a very, very important day in Lebanon. Yes, the decision to disarm Hezbollah, which I don't understand why they're taking this time. It's such a long time, the Lebanese government, to even decide or debate this. Hezbollah have released a new video. Let's go and see what these idiots are saying. Basically, what they mean is, we're not going to disarm. We're not going anywhere.
في مشكلة بالمنطقة اسمها سلاح المقاومة. نزع سلاح المقاومة في لبنان هو هدف إسرائيلي معلن.
Yeah.
نعلن استعدادنا
What was our permanent readiness to discuss?
أي استراتيجية دفاعية وطنية
National defense. You're not running Lebanon.
خطابنا واضح. حماية سيادة لبنان وتحرير
Protect Lebanon's sovereignty.
كل أشكال العدوان الإسرائيلي.
They don't care about Lebanon.
استثمار قوة المقاومة وسلاح المقاومة ضمن استراتيجية دفاعية تحقق التحرير والحماية.
Liberation.
رفض
Oh my
أي
God.
خطوة فيها
So embarrassing.
إضعاف للبنان أو تؤدي إلى استسلامه للعدو الإسرائيلي. المقاومة نشأت لضرورة في المواجهة لأنه لا يمكن أن يبقى لبنان
Okay.
بلا مواجهة لهذا العدو.
Anyway.
تبين أنها الخيار الوحيد وهي
Only
السند
option.
للجيش عندما يكون قادم.
We've heard enough. We've heard enough. Go away, Hezbollah. Go away. Nobody wants to hear from you. Meanwhile, if we go back to the border between Israel and Gaza, the live feed that we have, the United States, the States Department has also released a statement saying that there is no end to the evil conduct of Hamas. The clips of videos are appalling and heartbreaking. It's about the hostages. And only serve to further the resolve of President Trump and Secretary Rubio to permanently end Hamas's terrorist rule in Gaza and free the hostages, including the remains of 2 Americans. Our hearts are with the hostage families who have suffered enough pain. This is why Special Envoy Steve Witkoff held this administration's latest meeting with the hostages' families in Israel this past weekend. As President Trump posted, the fastest way to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is for Hamas to surrender and release the hostages. Now, they're not going to surrender, so what you have to do is to force them to run away. And this is the new plan, which will be confirmed, should be confirmed by the War Cabinet over the next few hours, probably in the next 12 hours or so. Well, less than that, actually. We'll find out that we do have Okay, the UAE have just completed yet another huge humanitarian airdrop. This is the 60th operation that they've done in Gaza as well. But if we quickly go back to Lebanon as well, because there's some reaction from Hezbollah, they're all kicking off because of what's going to happen tomorrow. Hezbollah members and supporters are currently out on the streets of Beirut, have taken control of the Beirut streets as usual with their stupid yellow flags, protesting ahead of tomorrow's Lebanese government's meeting to discuss disarmament of Hezbollah. Protesters are chanting, and I quote, "We are at your command, Nasrallah." Nasrallah, as in Hassan Nasrallah. You remember Mr. Potato Head, who died in a very embarrassing way last year, or whenever it was? I don't think Hassan Nasrallah could give you any command. So you're gonna have to wait for a bit. Let's go to the video we have from Beirut. Look at him. Embarrassing. At your command, Nasrallah. Okay, well, if you're going to wait for a ghost, a corpse to tell you what to do, you're a little bit embarrassing yourself. As I said just before we came live, the Houthis from Yemen have discovered that they could do an all-nighter instead of actually sleeping and taking a rest. So they have decided to launch a ballistic missile at Israel. The aggression coming from the Houthis continues. Obviously, the Houthis most of the time can't really aim properly anyway. And when they do aim correctly, when they target Israel, they always get intercepted by the Iron Dome in general, the Israeli air defense system in general. They have been activated. We do have a short video from the moment the ballistic missile was intercepted in Israel. There we go, that little white thing. That's it. So all this did was it just unnecessarily woke up a lot of Israelis, because obviously the sirens went off. So I feel sorry for the Israelis. It was in the middle of midnight. It was past midnight. They're all in bed, but the missiles obviously the missile triggered the alarm, the alert, but nothing actually happened as usual, because it's the Houthis. They don't even know what they're doing at this point. All right, so while we're here, we're trying to get more information about what the head of the IDF would do shortly. Super Chat said the entire Middle East is for Israel. That is quite ambitious. No, that would be a terrible idea for everybody, including Israel. First things first, the Israeli government is struggling to govern between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, with all a bunch of left-wing weirdos in Tel Aviv protesting every day. Imagine if they get a bigger land. It's going to be hell. No, terrible idea. Stu says, do people actually buy into that Hezbollah? Hezbollah? That's a good one. No, no one takes them seriously. At this point, even the Houthis are respected more than the Hezbollah weirdos. Because at least the Houthi leader is actually still there. I mean, he's hiding, but he's still in Yemen. Oh, she says, no scenario in which Israel takes over Gaza. Europe will hold us back because it hurts Macron's weapons trade and Keir Starmer's funding. Well, there's so many issues with the controversy around the new plan to fully occupy Gaza. There are so many problems with this. It's not an easy operation, not necessarily in terms of achieving it. You can technically achieve it. It's not going to be a day or two. So from tomorrow, this channel, we're going to keep you guys posted on every single day what on earth is going to happen in Gaza. It's about what happens afterwards. Because partly you can say, as RG says, there's going to be a massive backlash from Europe, but the Israeli government shouldn't care about Europe. President Trump still backs the plan anyway, but there's going to be a massive backlash from the rest of the region. So, and also internally, because Netanyahu's government, they are still having some political problems, internal political problems, which means that if somehow the Israeli leadership changes, well, everything could change. unless the mission is successful quickly, within a few days, within a week, whatever happens. Libel says Islam needs to learn that the world doesn't belong to them. They can't learn that. Only. They are the least wanted ideology. Even Hitler thought of measures to contain Islam after it served its useful purpose. Yeah, but at the time, Adolf and his allies and his minions didn't really see the long-term threat. That's what they know. They had a good alliance with the Islamic world and with the Mufti and all the other weirdos. They didn't really see what could happen. And now there's been a massive vacuum, definitely since the Cold War ended. And now we are seeing the result of this. Everything goes back to the 7th century. They've just been empowered as an ideology. The only reason Jews own so much of the corn market is that we think Christians suck and porn. What? Then becomes a way to defile Christian culture. This is what happens when you do a late live streams. Crazy people everywhere. Charmaine says, how is your bandit, Mr. T? Bandit. I think that means dad. Hang on. Oh, okay. She followed up. Your dad. I meant your dad. I love the clarification. Your dad. I meant. First, how did you mistype your dad to your bandit? That is a weird autocorrect. And my dad, yeah, he's fine. He's alive. He's breathing. He's still stuck in Tehran, in Iran, but he's carrying. It's not going well. The inflation is crazy. There's still checkpoints everywhere. The supreme leader is still hiding in a bunker. Explosions happening every single day. Iran is still in the middle of war. They're just not telling you. That's basically what there is. A complete gaslighting operation right now by the Islamic Republic and the international media. Of course, this channel, we have been regularly reporting on what's happening in Iran. Other than that, we're just waiting for the inevitable. Either Israel to finish the situation in Gaza and get back to Iran, or this coup that we are waiting for by the defectors of the IRGC to eventually happen. We are seeing some positive points about positive signs about the Iranian opposition, the Iranian people, more of them getting behind the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. So it's just inevitable, but obviously we have to still wait for a while to find out how that's gonna happen. All right, so let's quickly go to the members of 2C TV Plus as well. Obviously, don't forget, if you want to get more out of this channel, it's not just the breaking news live streams that we do on YouTube. Download the 2C TV app, the home of geopolitical news. Your go-to source for everything, not just news, but also documentaries, original series, podcasts, and the chat forum that we're going to go to now. What are these guys talking about? Deb says they need to totally occupy Gaza to make sure Hamas are gone. It's the only option. You can't keep doing what I've been saying, whack-a-mole. Keep like punching them somewhere and then they pop out somewhere else. It doesn't work. Susie says, breaking, the United Nations has updated its Gaza aid report. From the 19th of May till the 4th of August, 88.7% of aid trucks were intercepted by Hamas or armed groups. Yeah, this was a couple of days ago, and yeah, we did report that, up from 87% just days ago. Actually, no, that's the latest one, isn't it? Yeah, the one that we saw was 87%. Now it's 88.7%. Yeah, this is how much of the aid is basically being wasted by Hamas. All right, this is good news. I heard Trump will be occupying Gaza for the foreseeable future until the Arab Emirates, Saudi, Egypt can take over. Yeah, that's supposed to be the plan. The plan is for America to say, well, we're going to go to scare off the Arabs and basically pressure them to go and take some responsibility. But for now, the actual operation to occupy it is going to be done by the Israeli Defense Forces. After that, obviously, cooperation between America and Israel until the Arabs come and sort out the mess. Egypt can't be trusted with Gaza. Yeah, we can't really have Egypt completely taking the whole thing, but The southern parts of Gaza, just give it back to Egypt. It's their mess to deal with. And Egypt will be under a lot of political pressure on an international level to ensure that extremism doesn't return. But, the Egyptian government can't even run their own country. So, even if they wanted to, they can't. God bless Israel. Please, everyone, this is a war. Israel has never starved the people of Gaza. Yep. Free Lebanon. These people are insane. All they do is hate. Yep. Oh, it's kicking off. We're just getting some updates from Lebanon. Speaking of Lebanon, I showed you guys the short video from the streets of Beirut. Apparently, it's getting a little bit more violent, and Hezbollah members are now going to be attacking the Lebanese government. So that's lovely, isn't it? In case you don't know, as I said, the Lebanese government are going to be having a meeting tomorrow to disarm Hezbollah. And so I think for the next couple of days, we're also going to have to keep an eye on what's going on in Lebanon, as Hezbollah will be apparently fighting against the Lebanese government. It says Lebanon has finally been given the strength to say enough, and Hezbollah is having financial difficulties. Yeah, because they can't get fully funded by the Islamic Republic. There is no money left. You're done. They've all been abandoned. All the proxies. Looks like we need another pager mission. I don't think you need that anymore, because if there is going to be a civil conflict on the streets of Beirut between Hezbollah militants and the Lebanese government military, I can assure you, if it's a direct conflict, the Lebanese military will destroy Hezbollah. So, because the Lebanese government will be getting support from their allies. And Hezbollah don't really have professional terrorists left. There's just a bunch of interns. Based on the left's and the mainstream media's narrative that the innocent Palestinians are starving, it should be easy to figure out who Hamas are now. Just shoot all the well-fed people. Job done. They can't complain. Yes, just find anybody who's fat. Just go around Gaza. Just find... If someone's very, very skinny, that means they're probably not Hamas because they haven't been fed. Make it simple, right? All right. I forgot there's a couple of super chats on YouTube as well. Toddy Terrence says, something needs to be done about UNRWA as well. They employ 1,500 known Islamists from Gaza alone. So I'm assuming if the full occupation of Gaza gets completed, then there won't be a need for the UNRWA. The whole point of the United Nations in Gaza was that they were there because nobody was actually in charge of Gaza. Technically, Hamas was in charge. Technically, on paper, Hamas were the government of Gaza, but they weren't really interested in governing Gaza. They were just interested in strengthening their own terrorist space for the past 20 years, and obviously influencing the schools, the school kids in Gaza. Apart from that, they weren't doing much. So that was the whole point of the United Nations being there, because Gaza and Gazans were perceived as the underdogs. Oh, they need help because, a bunch of innocent people, right? That was the point of the UN being. If the whole thing is going to be occupied anyway, you don't need the UNRWA. You don't need that. Just go away. Don't need you. Because if eventually, whether it's going to be the United States, whether it's going to be UAE, Saudi, whoever is going to be in charge to monitor, then they're going to sort it out. Well, they have to. There's no other option. Whoever is going to be governing Gaza, whether it's Israel, which it should be Israel, but it's controversial at this point, or the Arabs, they're going to have to make sure it's governed well, because there's going to be unrest. These guys, all these Arab countries, they are by default technically dictatorships. It's not democracies. They know how to manage. They're not going to be tolerating protests or unrest. So they're going to have to keep them fed and keep them quiet. Anyway, there's a couple of more non-super chats as well. Sandy says, I do not want the United States anywhere near Gaza. Trump is a crazy warmonger. No, that's not how it works. When did Trump become a warmonger? That's not warmongering. I don't think the anti-Western people and anti-Trump people understand how geopolitics works and the difference between a military action and a geopolitical action. A difference between, for example, 2003 Iraq, which was chaotic, and, for example, what's going to happen potentially in Gaza. The American soldiers are not going to go to Gaza to kill Hamas terrorists to potentially get harmed themselves. That's not the plan. Whether you like it or not, we live under the American empire. America is the world police. You got two options as the world police. You could either have America actually be a warmonger, which usually happens when you have a Democrat in the White House, or W. Bush. Or that's one version of the American empire, which is not really a good idea, because almost every intervention by the Americans, 20th century onwards, mid-20th century onwards, has been a massive failure. Everything from Iraq, Afghanistan, everything that's happened, okay? Libya. Or you could have the soft power American empire. Somebody needs to police the world, whether you like it or not. This is the world we live in. It's not some sort of fantasy world where you could be like, every country will be on their own, just going to deal with their own affairs. Nobody's going to do anything else external. Somebody's going to do it. If America is not in charge, somebody else will. Either the European Union or China. Both of them terrible options. Instead of, if somebody has to be in charge, or rather America's in charge, but I don't want the warmonger America. I don't want people like Obama or Clinton's. I'd rather have the soft power America in charge, to be there, to monitor. And that is the plan. The plan is not to do war in Gaza. The plan is to finish the war in Gaza. That, by the way, Gaza started. It's not that difficult to understand. Anyway, someone says, Sandy needs to stop watching the mainstream media. That's usually good advice as well. Stop falling for the propaganda. Trump warmonger. Trump literally spends more time stopping wars that sometimes shouldn't be stopped. Sometimes he just stops war. I'm like, no, don't stop that one. Let it continue. He's done more peace deals and ceasefires than anybody else. What's this? Tusi, after the UK and Canada are saying they will recognize the state, I think, well, Palestinian state, Israel will go in. Starmer shot himself in the foot. Yeah, well, by the way, it's not just the UK and Canada, it's also Portugal and France and a few other countries, which is quite embarrassing for Europe. Also, because of the way Mark Carney is running Canada, I actually consider Canada and the Canadian government as part of Europe at this point. It's closer to the European Union than anybody else. John in the live chat says, Maya Tusi is a phony. I am going to expose him. Thank you for at least a heads up. Usually it's probably best to not say I'm going to expose him, just expose me. Like, what's the point of a heads up? It's just do it. It's easier. Come back to us when you have the stuff that you want to expose. I mean, I can expose myself. Sometimes when we go to a cocktail bar with my fiance, I do order the girliest, fruitiest cocktail with the little umbrellas. I know. Scandal. It's because I'm very much comfortable with my sexualities. I love a good fruity cocktail. Anyway, Libel says Sandy Anderson needs to get schooled in a primary school in the early 1970s. She would fail the entrance exam. Poor Sandy. She's just naive. It's okay. Is John back? I want to see what John has apart from my cocktail scandal. Can't believe I just exposed myself. I was going to make a joke. No. If I have too much cocktail, I will expose myself more. Terrible. See, I'm already ready to be a dad because I got a lot of dad jokes. You have to have dad jokes to be a dad. So, I'm ready. Danielle! She's not actually here. She's on her bachelorette party. Trip. To Sandy. Rwanda and Congo. I'll rest my case. Yeah. Toddy says, I knew it. I always knew you were always a girl. Always a girl. I'm not always a girl. Just sometimes when I'm at a cocktail bar, I'm a girl. That's it. Speaking of girls, what's going on with the Hamas? It seems quiet, because I could hear in the background, even if I don't show you the feed. It has been relatively quiet and peaceful. Just before we came live, there were a couple of explosions I heard in Gaza, but nah, it's fine. I think they're giving him a bit of a break. It's quite late. Well, I'm trying to see if I can find John. Has he found a way to expose me yet? We'll probably have to give him till tomorrow. I could help you, John. Give you some intel if you want to expose me. Anyway, let's take a break. Let's find out in the next few hours what's going to happen with the Israeli government. They're going to make a decision. And Eyal Zamir might resign as the head of the IDF. Might. He might not. You never know. As I said, don't forget, download the 2C TV app, the home of geopolitical news, and become a member of 2C TV Plus today. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.